Welcome back to CityLine. With me, I have two individuals who are here to talk about the Single Occupancy Bathroom Ordinance. So please join me in welcoming Andreta Armstrong. You are the Human Rights Manager for the City of Tacoma. Welcome, my dear.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here. You are warming the seat of the former City Rights Manager, Pam, that came before you, I believe, or she was in that division. So good people always here on CityLine.
Yes.
And you brought with you Jen Haggard. Jen, you are a Human Rights Commissioner and President of Pride at Work. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Good to have both of you here today to talk about this very, very important ordinance. So before we actually break down the ordinance, I thought it would be a really good idea for our viewers to hear the ordinance, for us just to put it out there as the City of Tacoma has adopted it. So Andreta, go ahead and read it for us.
Okay. Single occupant restrooms shall not be restricted to a specific sex or gender identity and shall use appropriate signage to indicate such restrooms are designated for use by any person, regardless of sex or gender identity. Entities covered by this ordinance shall replace existing restrictive gender use signage for single occupant public restrooms with signage indicating that such restrooms can be used by any person, regardless of sex or gender identity. Examples of appropriate signage would include washroom, restroom, all gender restroom, gender neutral restroom, or unisex, and or that images or symbols to indicating that all single occupant restrooms are designated for use by any person, regardless of sex or gender identity.
Thank you. Can you see the smile on my face? I am beaming from ear to ear that my city has that. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so based upon that, what we just laid out there, Andreta, what does the ordinance do? Put it in layman terms for us.
It, on June 1st, 2019, will be the first time that folks who are trans, who have a different gender identity that was assigned to them at birth, they will not be harassed, or it would be illegal to harass them for going to a particular restroom that is either male or female.
Okay, so when we say, and that was, you answered that beautifully. So what is defined as a public place?
A public place is a place in Tacoma where you buy and sell goods and that's open to the public, goods or services.
Grocery stores, restaurants,
Absolutely.
Metro
Theaters.
Stations, theaters, you name it.
That's right.
Okay.
Just about any place in Tacoma that the public gathers, that's open for the public to gather.
There we go. That's a great definition. So, Jen, when we hear the phrase all gender restrooms, what are all gender restrooms?
I mean, I think the simplest answer is if you think about your bathroom at home, right?
Thank you.
Anybody can go into that bathroom, can
Yes.
have a great experience to whatever they need to do and feel safe and comfortable. And they can apply to single occupancy restrooms. That's what this ordinance specifically addresses. And some places apply them to multi-facilities as well. So
I love that.
Yeah.
My wife Laura and I were just in Mexico City, and they have same gender bathrooms, and don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
It's just zip, zip, zoom, you're in, you do your business. And when you put it that way about we already have that in our home and we do just fine with it, it really brings it down to a very understandable premise and something that we're all used to. I want to ask you, Jen, why are they important? Some people would say, why do we have to do that? Why can't we just leave it the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of answers to that question.
Yeah.
One of the first ones was referenced in the reading of the ordinance, but there was actually language in Tacoma that the city council wasn't even aware of to a certain degree that actually restricted people from having gender neutral restrooms. And so you could get fined if you had one. And so it's one of those scenarios where I think having a person at the table who's directly impacted by an issue to point it out is really crucial. Two, I think the queer community especially, but anybody who's gender nonconforming in this country experiences a lot of harassment on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And there's a privilege that people have when they see you and you don't look like everybody else, where they just feel incredibly comfortable discussing that with you, right? And telling you the reasons that you should look like everybody else. And I tell a story a lot about how I was waiting in line once with my daughter at Target, of all places, recently. And we were waiting in line, and there was a woman in front of us who had her daughter with her. And the daughter looked at me and looked at my daughter and looked at her mom and like tugged on her skirt. And she looked at her and she was like, Mom, there's a boy in line for the bathroom. And her mom got all embarrassed and looked at her and she was like, No, it's a girl, it's okay. And the daughter looked at me again, and then she looked at her mom, and then she tugged on her skirt again, and she was like, But Mom, that girl has short hair. And her mom looked at her and she looked at me very embarrassed, right, very apologetic. And she was like, Well, people have different hairstyles, people choose whatever they want to do. And then she got this look on her face, the daughter, and she looked at her mom and she was very excited. And she pulled on her skirt again and she was like, Mom, I want short hair. Yes. And her mom looked at me and this look of like terror came over her face. She grabbed her daughter and left the store immediately. And that's the reality and I think about it especially in terms of youth that are struggling, and that kind of treatment on a regular basis and what that does to your confidence and what that does to your mental health, right? And yes. So it's a crucial thing, I think, that people can feel safe in public.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. And that's heartbreaking. And in addition to that, I think all of us, as this ordinance was picking up speed, heard some really outlandish, awful things that never happen in bathrooms, and that was part of the fear of putting this out there, that it was going to be a place where children were going to be harmed, which is just ridiculous. This is the reason why we have you here, so we can talk about this in very black and white, lawful terms. So, Jen, will this ordinance be enforced in multi-stall bathrooms? Because you said it was just single.
Yeah, the ordinance is designed just for single-stall restrooms right now.
Okay.
There is the ability for folks to make multi-stall restrooms gender neutral if they would like, and people will have their gender identity protected according to city law anyway, by using the multi-facility of their choice, right?
Okay. All right. So how will we enforce this ordinance, Andreta? I mean, especially if it's a single stall, one person in there, one person in line.
If after June 1st, there is signage that is of a single occupancy bathroom that has either a female or signage that says it's for a female or just a male, then that would be unlawful. Okay. And anyone can call the Human Rights Unit for the city of Tacoma, 311, dial 311.
There it is.
Or I think we actually have the numbers.
We have been.
Okay. Or you can dial 591-5000 and ask to talk with the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and we will see that you can file a complaint, and we will investigate, and we will make that right.
Do you recommend doing that as opposed to going to the business owner?
I recommend, that's a good question. I recommend that you go to the business owner because they may not know. And if the business owner is resistant at all, give us a call.
There we go. So what if my business uses specifically ordered sign? Let's say that I have a brand logo and I want to have snowflakes all over it that require time to make. Can I get an extension?
No, you can't get an extension.
All right, so listen up, businesses.
You can put a temporary signage up.
Good. Okay, there we go.
And doesn't have to be slick and real pretty, but you have to be lawful.
There we go. It needs to get the job done, doesn't it? So I don't think this would happen in Tacoma, but we want to cover all of those what-if scenarios. What if a business posts offensive or, let's say, derogatory restroom signage? What happens then?
That's a good question, because the city of Tacoma has as a protected class sexual orientation and gender identity. And so if there is signage that is derogatory or demeaning, one can file a complaint of discrimination.
Okay. So Jen, we're going to show some pictures here, but I want your definition of what is appropriate signage.
Sure. To me, appropriate signage is anything that's permanent.
Okay.
And anything that clearly indicates that a restroom is open to anybody who needs to use it, be it any gender identity. Hopefully, most restrooms are open to differently abled people. And I'm just going to do my own personal push here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in these restrooms, they install changing tables.
Oh,
There's
I
a
hope
real
so
problem
too.
with that.
Changing tables, and also I hope that they install rails for ADA.
Yep.
So it is accessible to everybody.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, so last question here. Are there any other projects in terms of Pride at Work or the Human Rights Commission that both of you be working on? Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that we are concerned about, at least at Pride at Work, and in the LGBTQ plus community that is coming up federally. And things in Washington are pretty great for the most part, but there are attacks right now against people's ability to access basic services like a hospital. Most hospitals are owned by Catholic organizations. Some of those Catholic organizations feel okay discriminating against LGBTQ folks. Benefits at work are under attack right now for spouses and domestic partners, children. Right? There's all kinds of stuff.
You're covering the whole gambit.
Yeah, and so our goal is to work with the Human Rights Commission and OEHR in the city of Tacoma, and the council's been great about it. They've asked us to bring things to the table on doing what we can locally to protect whatever we can.
I wish you luck on those.
Yeah.
All right, Andreta, 10 seconds.
Well, the Human Rights Commission, we're going to be having hosting conversations as it relates to race, the power of illusion, that speaks. It's a public media presentation that we will have a conversation around. We will look at the presentation and talk about privilege and what that means and how it plays out, and forms of discrimination. Please look at the city's website,
yes,
and or call 311 and
right.
And ask to find out what's going on with us.
You two are angels in disguise. I want to say thank you for the work that both of you have put into this, and the multitudes of people behind you that we couldn't get in the studio today that have also played a hand in this great ordinance. From the bottom of my heart, as a citizen of Tacoma, I say thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
My pleasure. When we come back, we'll have Northwest Unfiltered. We've got a merging of tourism coming up here. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.